You know, it's pretty amazing what a 1400-year-old text can teach us about arguments in our world today. So we're going to break down a short passage from the Quran that honestly unfolds like a masterclass in communication, in logic, and in strategy.
I mean, think about it. This is a huge challenge we face all the time, right? From social media spats to huge public debates. Well, it turns out this ancient text gives us a surprisingly modern and really sophisticated way to handle it.
So here's the first interesting thing. The whole approach, it doesn't start with a fight. It doesn't begin with an attack or a confrontation. Instead, it kicks off with this really smart, disarming, diplomatic move, a call to find some common ground.
And this right here, this is the core invitation. It's a really strategic way to pull the conversation away from just arguing and steer it toward the one big thing everyone involved could agree on, the idea of one God. It's basically trying to build a bridge before the debate even gets going. Pretty smart, right? This whole idea of the common word, it's just brilliant, strategically speaking. Instead of getting bogged down in all the things they disagree about, the idea is, hey, let's start with the one most fundamental thing we all agree on. And just like that, you reframe the whole thing. It's not a fight anymore. It's a potential collaboration.
Okay, but there's a catch, a really important one. This next line, it's not just about theology. It's actually kind of political. It's a straight-up warning against putting any religious leader or scholar on a pedestal, treating them like they're infallible, like they're God. The message is crystal clear. Your connection is supposed to be directly with God, not through some human gatekeeper.
All right, so diplomacy is tool number one. But what happens when that shifts and the conversation turns into a debate about history? Well, then the Quran pulls out a totally different tool, just sharp, undeniable logic. And this was the real sticking point. See, back then, you had different groups all trying to claim Abraham as their guy, exclusively. His legacy was like the ultimate trump card for their own religious identity. And this is where the Quran's counter-argument gets really clever. It doesn't dive into some complicated theological rabbit hole. Nope, it just lays out a simple historical fact, a timeline. Look, Abraham lived and died centuries before the core scriptures of either Judaism or Christianity even existed. So the comeback is this devastatingly simple question. How can you possibly claim he belonged to your religion when your religion's main books weren't even written yet? It just doesn't make sense chronologically. It basically shows that their whole argument is a historical impossibility. It's based on ideology, not on actual, facts. So what the text does next is completely reframe who Abraham was. It says, look, he wasn't a Jew or a Christian in the way we think of those terms today. Instead, it describes him as a Hanif, someone who is just laser-focused on pure truth, and a Muslim, but in the most general sense of the word, just someone who submits their will to the one God. It's a definition that's all about his character, not some label.
The whole point it's making is this. Being a true heir to Abraham has nothing to do with your tribe or the name of your religion. It's all about whether you're walking the same path he did, that path of pure belief in one God. So, in other words, legacy is defined by what you do, not what group you belong to.
Okay, but what happens when the other side isn't just wrong? What if they're being deliberately dishonest? This is where the tone of the whole passage just takes a hard turn. It goes from calm logic to this direct, sharp challenge, aimed at people who are twisting the truth on purpose.
And listen to these questions. They aren't gentle suggestions. This is like a sharp courtroom cross-examination. The text isn't saying, hey, you might be mistaken. No, it's accusing them of being intellectually dishonest. It's saying, you know the truth and you are actively hiding it.
And then it gets even deeper. The passage reveals something way more complex than just a bad argument. It actually exposes what looks like a secret plot, basically a coordinated disinformation campaign. Now, this is an incredibly clever psychological tactic. The goal here wasn't to win an argument with logic. It was to create the illusion that there was some huge, fatal flaw in this new faith. So by pretending to convert and then making a big show of leaving, they were hoping to destabilize the whole community from the inside, to make real believers start to doubt themselves. I mean, what you're looking at is essentially an ancient psyop, a psychological operation. It's a strategy that's absolutely timeless, manipulating how people see things, creating chaos. We see versions of this stuff happening all the time, even today. And this is the final genius move in the whole strategy. By just coming out and exposing the plan, the Quran completely shuts it down. Think about it. Once the community knows this is a tactic, that this is what to look out for, the trick loses all of its power. It's a classic counterintelligence move, right? Forewarning is forearming. So, when you step back and look at the whole thing, you see this amazing multi-layered strategy. It starts with diplomacy, trying to find common ground. Then it shifts to pure logic. And finally, it concludes by exposing a hidden psychological attack. It's like a complete toolkit for defending a community. And it's built on this really important understanding that not everyone is arguing in good faith.
And that really leaves us with one last big question to think about. In our world, with all the digital fake news and disinformation flying around, what can this 1,400-year-old playbook teach us? About how to find common ground, how to use clear logic, and maybe most importantly, how to expose bad faith arguments to protect our own communities. It really makes you think. Some strategies are just timeless, aren't they?